Let's see here. We'll give it a few minutes and see if anybody joins. I'm just kind of testing it out here and see what it looks like. We'll give it a few minutes and see if anybody joins. I'm just kind of testing it out here and see what it looks like. If it starts buffering, it's my internet. We got 2 people watching here. Let's see here. Go ahead and like it and let me know who we got here. Let's see. We got 1 person watching. I'm just kind of testing it out. Maybe give you a little scripture here. What's on my mind. And give a few minutes, see if anybody else wants to join. Just trying out some new settings and microphone here. We got someone else on there. Usually I'm at my buddy Spencer's house tonight, but he ain't been feeling too well. Oh, we got 3 people. I feel special. Let me know if you're watching. All right. While people are joining on here, let's look at something here together. Bring up my eSword program. Today, I was just kind of thinking about. I preached a sermon not too long ago up in Illinois, and let's see. And I had a thought. It's about Jesus feeds the 5,000 here. And in John chapter 6, we see here in verse 2 that the great multitude followed him. And, Jesus went to the mountain. He said with the disciples. And then we see here in verse 5, he lifted his eyes and saw a great company. He came upon him. He said unto Philip, whence shall we buy bread that these may eat? So Jesus was telling, he would say, hey, where can we buy all this bread for all these people? There's 5,000 men there. And then Philip answered him, 200 penny worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. And then one of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter, brother, saith unto him, there's a lad here, which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? As I was looking and studying this, and this verse here, so there's a lad here. We see some things here about this lad. First of all, we see here that the lad, it don't give him a name. It don't say, it don't give us his personal name. It says there's a lad. And I believe when we start doing stuff for Christ, when we start serving him, that means our name doesn't matter. My name, Brother Chris, doesn't matter. It don't matter how great the person I am, but when you start really serving him, you become, the boy here is a lad. So we see here the first thing with this little verse, we see his name doesn't matter. It don't say, who his name was. It just says there's a lad here, and I believe as we look at that, that's some good stuff in there. It don't matter how, we got a lot of preachers. I believe they want their names on their signs. They want the evangelists. They want their names on their buses, on the billboards. When you get down to it, it doesn't matter who you are. Next thing we see with the lad, it don't give us an age. Usually a lad means, a young boy. We see it don't matter how old you are to serve Christ. This lad here, he had 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. That barley loaves were small. I guess you could compare them to the size of a biscuit, and they weren't real big. So he brought his lunch today. We see here the lad. They said Simon Peter said, hey, there's a lad here. So first of all, we see his name doesn't matter. Second of all, his age doesn't matter. He's a young boy. I believe there's a lot of people who make excuses trying to serve God. I'm not old enough, or I'm too old. No, I can't do that yet. It doesn't matter. Look here, there's a lad here. His name doesn't matter. His age doesn't matter. We see here that only that we see here. He brought his lunch today. He went out and strolling and ran this great multitude. There's 5,000 people here. That's a lot of people. He had 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. Then we see here Jesus said, "Make the men sit down." And then we see that make the men sit down. There's much grass in this place. So this is a big place. It holds a lot of people. So the men sat down, in number about 5,000. We see Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them, and were set down, and likewise the fishes as much as they would. And then it says this, when they were filled, and said unto his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. We see here that Jesus took what the boy had. He just had 5 barley loaves and a couple fishes, and the small fishes. This lad here gave Jesus everything. He gave his whole lunch. He didn't say, "Hey, here's a piece of bread, here's a piece of fish, or you can just have a little bit." No, he gave it all. We see here that his name doesn't matter, his age doesn't matter, but when you start serving Jesus, you gotta give him everything. He didn't complain. It didn't say the boy threw a fit, but we see here, Jesus said after that, let's not waste nothing. Nothing should be wasted here. Man, I believe when we give everything to him, he'll take it, he'll multiply it, he'll use it way more than we can ever do. It says those men that had seen the miracle that Jesus had said in verse 14 here, he said the prophet should come. But then we see here, to gather up the fragments in verse 12, gather up fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Man, Jesus saying right here, don't be wasteful. If you got a talent, you got to use it for him. If there's something you know how to do, you got to do it for him. You got to, and like we said, there's a lad here. And his name didn't matter. His age didn't matter. But we see here, he gave Jesus everything. And I challenge you this week here's a little Bible story for you today as I'm testing out my live stream. But we see here, I challenge you, are you giving Jesus your all? Are you giving him everything? Are you holding back to a little thing? We see the story before here, and I think it's chapter 4 or 5, where the woman at the well, they said when, after she got done, she talked to Jesus, and then said here, she left her water pot. She left her water pot at the well and went back to the city and told them everybody about who Jesus is. Today, are you like that? Are you there's some things you're still holding on to? And as we end, we just got a couple people watching, and I just want to thank y'all for watching today. We see here there's a boy here. His name didn't matter. His age didn't matter. Man, and he gave Jesus everything. And he didn't complain about it. And y'all have a good night.